We continue with the model in polygons of this object, and the next part that I'm going to build is the head. The head is slightly different. We started the body from a cube and it gave us good results. The head, as we know, it's more a cylinder. So a cylinder that has some softness on the edges of that cylinder. So what we're going to do is we are going to create that head from a cylinder object, from a primitive. So I'm going to click on that primitive cylinder, and you see right away it comes there, and I'm going to move it up and put it in place roughly where the head is. I'm going to scale it up to try to achieve the thickness. I know that the left is the one that I'm following, the right is a little bit off in terms of pivot. I'm going to scale it down a little bit to try to match the height of it. Although I'm going to modify it, but I'm going to keep it that way. So the cylinder comes right there like as I want. There is one thing that I recommend you not to do and avoid when you create cylinders, and it is keep this looking appearance. The truth is that it's not a good thing to try to use triangles in polygonal models. You want to use squares or quads. You don't want to have objects that have 5 edges, faces with 5 edges. So in this case, triangles we don't want. So I can delete them, but what I'm going to do actually, because this is an object that was created with Maya, it has some history in it. So if I go to the channel box, and if I click on the polycylinder, you'll see that Maya is using information about how many axes it has, and how many subdivisions vertically, how many subdivisions in the caps. So I'm going to try to say, for example, caps 0. By doing that, it removes the subdivisions that it has there. Also, I'm going to say, because I need to put on the front view, just the same way we did with the body, I'm going to put a softer edge to cut right there. Let me just fix this the thickness of this line so you can see a little bit better. And I'm going to also remove the X-ray for a moment. So we need to have an edge right here, which is going to help me with softening that curve there if I put an edge right there. And same thing is going to happen down here. It's going to help me with having another curve right there. Just the same way we did with the body, we're going to have an extra. That means that I'm going to need to have 2 extra divisions in the middle. I could do the same thing with the body, but because this is an object that has some history in it, I can request to do it on subdivisions in height. I'm going to say 3 subdivisions. That way I have those edges right away created. Okay, so that is good. I'm going to delete my drawing there so it doesn't bug me. And I am going to now simply modify the object. So how am I going to modify it? First of all, I'm going to make those lines. Let me go back to X-ray one more time. These lines that I just added, those edges that were added on the vertical, we're going to move them up to right here, so that the softer part of the object work better. Let me just delete that drawing. See if I can use my regular tool. There we go. Alright, so I'm going to select, right click, select by edge this time, or it's the same as if you call your toolkit and click and select by edge right there. So double click on it to select the whole loop around it. Use the move tool and move it up roughly before where you want to start that curvature to appear. Same at the bottom. I'm going to double click on that and go down. I still have my symmetry on, so that's why it's kind of showing there, not in the center. If I turn off symmetry off, that will do a different thing. Right, so that is doing partially what I needed to do. But there are a few things that I want to modify. So I'm going to, first of all, modify that face on the top. So let me just change and select by faces. So I can click on that face and I'm going to use the scale tool to shrink that face so that my object kind of shrinks along with it to roughly the area that needs to be shrunk to. And I'm going to do the same thing at the bottom, trying to shrink it from the center, from the yellow one. If you shrink it from any other one, you're going to shrink it on one direction only. So if you do this from the center, it'll give you a more precise looking and scale on all directions. Alright, so let's reduce it there. If I press 3 on my keyboard, he starts looking a bit softer. He honestly looks like a pumpkin. He's not that sharp as I wanted to. So what I need to do, if I press 1 on my keyboard again, and I select the edge again, double click, or same as you call it the edge there, I can move that edge upwards a little bit, and this one downwards. I'm going to press 3 on my keyboard again until I see it a bit sharpening a bit more. But it is not doing it yet. Why is it not doing it yet? Because just 2 edges are not doing the job. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to add an additional edge, which you already know how to do it, by using the multi-cut. I'm going to put here, holding my control key on your keyboard, and press here, so that adds another edge, and I'm going to put another one right here that adds another edge to help with the keeping this centerpiece more straight. I'm going to double click on that edge in order to move it up a little bit more so I can sharpen the appearance. Same with this one, sharpen the appearance of the bottom and the top. Alright, we got it there. So now we just need to do another. We're working in more softer mode, so if I press 1, that's the way it looks. If you press 3, that's the way it looks. So you can work on either way, that's okay. So now what we're going to do is we need to create maintain the flat appearance there, so that we can create a prong that comes from the top, that thing that his head will connect with the pieces. So I'm going to, this time around, use a different tool which is called extrude. Extrude allowing you to kind of duplicate the face and make it work better. So I'm going to just click on extrude now, and that adds to it, and I can shrink that a little bit. So that, by the way, it already created something else, making it better there. So I'm going to try to do it, keep it that way a little bit, and it's a bit too thin. I'm trying to make it, because I'm going to extrude it one more time, and this time I'm going to just move it a little bit up, just a little bit. So that's giving me an extra thing. There's different edge there, and I'm going to extrude it one more time, this time in order to be able to pull it up. So you see that I did 3 different extrusions that to allow me to have additional information kind of duplicating the object. Now it gives me that, which I'm going to just bring it right before, and then up before the top point of the object right there. And I'm going to do one extra extrusion. What extruding is doing is adding more opportunity for you to extend the shape of the object. So if you press 1 in this moment here, you'll see the low res version of that is just doing that. If you modify it, you see that I have an extra extrusion waiting there. If I move it right there, that'll give me the effect of the thickness that I wanted to do. If I do 1, if I do 3 on my keyboard, it shows that. So now I'm going to extrude one more time. I'm going to keep it in low res now so we can understand what's going on. I'm going to bring that one down, and I'm going to extrude one more time. And why am I keeping it now in low res? Because if you keep it in high res, you may get to a point that you don't see what's going on. So I'm going to keep that one right there. I'm going to extrude one more time. I'm going to make it come all the way down here. I'm going to press 3 on my keyboard, and this is what you get. So I'm going to get very close to it. I'm going to delete that polygon. Why am I going to delete that one? Because that polygon has too many edges, and I might not like that. So I'm going to delete that. I have a hole now. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to select by edge, and I'm going to shrink those. Let me turn off my symmetry So I can select again, double click on it. So that way it's select from the center, and I scale down to the moment that I bring it all to the center, so they don't have any more issues with it. So let me see. So now if you try to you look at it in low res or in high res, you have a little tiny hole there, which you simply get very close again and tighten up some more by clicking on the edge, double clicking on the edge, or using the edge tool there. And I'm going to select my scale tool one more time and scale it one more time. Alright, I'm just having a little trouble with my mouse, but hopefully it'll continue working. So I'm going to just scale it down some more. There it is, until it becomes an imperceptible hole. Now from the distance I won't notice it. Now I look at it, it looks soft and nice. If I want to sharpen it up a little bit, you already know the trick. You grab the multi-cut tool, hold your control key, so you can add another edge right there, and that makes that corner sharper. Same I can do on this one. If you don't need it, you don't add more, but if you want it to be sharper right there, that should add a bit more. Same on this one. If you want to have this corner a bit sharper, right now you want it to be too soft, you just add another one right there, and that makes it look a bit more angular or rectangular, if you want to call the profile of that object. Alright, that's looking pretty good. From the front view, it's okay. I could have it a bit less flat. I can just round it up a little bit more. If I did that, I can try to maybe double clicking on this edge or using the edge tool there and select on that object, double click on that object, and using the tool to scale it up a little bit and maybe bring it down a tiny bit so you can match your profile right there. Alright, I'm going to do the bottom part now, which again is a face that needs to be extruded in the same way, and that one we're gonna just go press one on the keyboard, so that way we keep it low res, that way we see what we're doing, because it's a bit harder if you don't do it. I'm gonna extrude that, click on the tool to bring on the square, the little cubes there, and you can scale down on the cube right there. I'm going to extrude one more time and see if I can bring it down to match the neck, and I'm going to just bring it down all the way so I can go through it. Actually, the drawing is not the cube, the head is not matching the drawing, but it's outside of the drawing, but I guess it's because I didn't ever pay attention to the side view. We'll do that in a minute. So that one does that. So it keeps it like this, and I'm going to press 3 on my keyboard to look at it, and it looks a little too soft. So it means I need to add a few edges, insert a few multi-cut edges, holding my control key so that I can loop there, and another one right here. So if I press 3, that's looking a little bit better. If I don't like the way this one is doing, I can select my edge on this one, and I can just simply use the scale tool, and since I have the symmetry off, it goes to the center. If I have the symmetry on, it will be different. So I'm going to scale that one up a little bit so it can help me with making the bottom a little bit rounder and nicer. Look what's happening here. This one is coming off like that, so that means that I can grab this face, bring it down a little bit more. I'm going to insert another edge just to guarantee that it doesn't get softer down there. And I'm going to do the same thing with this face that has too many edges there. I'm going to press delete. So it's going to be open, there's a hole there, but it doesn't matter, we won't see it. Now I'm going to go, if I press 3 on the keyboard, I can see it there. I'm going to go to the side view here, orthographic, side view, and I'm going to align that drawing, or better, that model to the drawing. It seems that the drawing is a bit less precise, it's wider on one side or the other one, but I can always scale it a bit up that way, and then I can bring it down on Y so I can match the height a bit better. Alright, that seems to be doing the trick. In this case, for example, that piece on the head, let me just go back to it, seems thicker than what it needs to be. So what we need to do is I press on one on my keyboard so that I can see the object as it is, and I'm going to select better from the front view. I'm going to select by selecting faces, and I'm going to select all the faces that make that top part. By selecting a box around it, selecting all. Now I can shrink down that, maybe scale it up a little bit to maintain the height, and I press T on my keyboard, and now it looks a lot sharper, a lot better, and the profile doesn't look bad. Right click to go to object mode, same as if you clicked here. And last thing I'm going to do on this object is that we know that objects in Maya keep history. So it has a lot of history. I'm going to delete the history of this object, edit, delete by type, history. And I'm going to do the same thing for the body, edit, delete by type, history. And I'm going to, before I save this file, I'm going to just call this one head. One more time, head. And this one's going to be torso. Alright, I'm going to save another incremental save here. And that's the end of this part. We move on to creating the arms and the leg next.